Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we are taking a look at the Vosteed Psyop with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or daily carry. Now this knife did come from the Lefty Pass-Around group. It is not mine to keep. It will be going back to the Lefty Pass-Around group after my review is finished. Now, so this was made by Vosteed in collaboration with Jeff Blavel of Tough Knives. And Jeff Blavel, he designed this one, the Psyop, and then I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he designed the RS Chaos, and together those two guys came and developed the Tyconic 1, right? And all three of those knives share kind of the same DNA of one another, and we're going to get to check out the Tycon 1 in like a week or so it all kind of ties in. Anyway, first impressions of this knife. This thing is clean. I'm really enjoying the overall aesthetic. We've got this like dark blasted titanium. We've got really clean, just plain satin hardware. T8s are on the board. We've got this really nice kind of faded marine blue around the pivot collar, which adds a little bit of pop, in contrast to the dark gray that we see everywhere else. Even the button is, a subtly lighter gray matching the inside of the pivot. Just all these little design details I'm a huge fan of. This milled titanium is fantastic. They just really, really knocked this one out of the park as far as design goes. Amazingly, we have a blade window that is in no way covered up by part of the handle, which I don't know about you guys, but it seems like 99% of the time there's some part of the handle that sticks out and kind of blocks off part of this window, which makes access a little annoying and kind of hard. I hate it. They didn't do it here. I love it. We do have a partial back spacer. We do have a lanyard hole. We have a milled titanium pocket clip, and this thing is lengthy, but I feel like it fits well into the overall design. And with it being as long as it is, it's going to be springy, and it's going to have less tension up here pinching your jeans or your pants between this textured titanium and the clip itself. Now, as far as feel in hand, this is a full-size knife, right? I'm choked all the way back comfortably, and I can still choke forward here. I could even choke forward here, and I've got all this real estate left over. Let me zoom out just a little bit. That's the wrong way. Oh, a little too far. There we go. But I still have all of this real estate. No matter where you grip, you've got all the room that you need. Not only that, but interestingly enough, this is the non-contoured version. So they have 4 variants of this knife, 2 in the gray and 2 in the black. The gray has a milled titanium variant, and it has a smooth titanium variant with contoured handles. So I haven't handled that one, but I can tell you that even though this isn't contoured, this is one of the most comfortable knives. I would be pressed to find a hot spot. Now, granted, I haven't put it through its paces yet. I haven't put it to work. I haven't done anything with it, like actual work with it. But just from right now, the ergos on this thing are just incredible. Now, it does a good job of feeling solid, like confidence inspiring, but also it feels surprisingly lightweight. Like I feel like I'm holding a knife that's 1.5 inches shorter than what this is. So while it does inspire confidence while I'm holding on to it, it doesn't come with that that heft. It doesn't come with that that kind of bulky feeling. This feels nimble and light, despite its size. And I'm saying that in a good way. Nothing against hefty knives. There's plenty of hefty knives that I like, but for this knife in particular, the way these elements are coming together, of it being lightweight, being nimble and agile, but also giving you a full, confident, grip, it's working out really, really well for this knife. As far as the blade shape goes, we've got a pretty classic drop point blade. We've got a belt satin. Blade's a little dirty, but we've got a semi-reflective belt satin on the swedge and on the blade. This is, I want to say, a flat grind. And then we've got, no, technically the flats are belt satin also. So yeah, I guess the whole thing's just belt satin. We just have a swedge, then we have a flat right here. But overall, it's going to lend itself to being very slicey. And then as far as the blade steel goes, this is rocking L-Max. The properties of L-Max are slipping my mind right now, but I will have them for the full review. And I don't want to sit here and take stabs at it. It's late. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I got a lot of knives coming in though, so we got to knock stuff out where we can. You know what I'm saying? As far as the action goes, holy cow. Like, so it's got a satisfying, like a really satisfying thwack on the way out. But the disengagement, okay, so, well, let's talk about this first. Kind of the elephant in the room. This is not a button lock. This is a pivot. Well, it's like a Spyderco compression lock, but it's not a pivot anything. But it's a compression lock, which means back here, it's got a liner, just like any liner lock would, but it's in the back. And then to disengage it, instead of coming up here and doing anything, you press this button in, and it disengages the knife. Now, why does this matter, right? Why isn't it just a button lock? Well, a button lock has oh dang, it's a plunge lock. There we go. A button lock is essentially a plunge lock, which means with a button lock, you push the button pushes another button, and that second button pushes a spring, and then your blade falls. And that's fine, but what happens is that removes any and all friction. So you go from locked up to 0 friction to releasing the button and then being locked up, right? And that's fine, but that means on traditional button locks, you don't have a detent. You don't have any resistance to flick against. They're just much less satisfying. Here, I've got my Civivi large Praxis button lock right here. See, when you push the button, there's nothing. There's no friction. So a lot of people say, oh, it's so smooth. No, it's not smooth. Smooth would imply that it's rubbing against something and it's doing so like elegantly. This is just a lack of friction. Anything that has a lack of friction will move like this, right? That's not special. Since this is a compression or a back liner lock, as they call it, we get the benefit of having a detent while still having the convenience of pushing a button. So I can push this in, and look, I'm not flip-floppy. I can move a little bit, but there's still friction there, right? And that's what gives me my detent. That's why this compression lock is superior to a button lock in every single way. That's not even including the fact that this is just a more reliable lock because it's a liner lock, right? Which is going to be the plunge lock every day of the week. So now, I say all that to say, whenever I disengage this knife, initially and listen for it, there's going to be a little initial click. I don't know if you can hear it. Then there's that click, that second click that shifted it forward. And then we fully commit to the push, and then it drops shut. So it's giving us like 3 to 4 tactile clicks instead of just like 2. And that's not even mentioning how this feels, because whenever you push this down, there's almost like 2 little clicks you have to go through to disengage. And then the acoustics, I mean, you're hearing all the clicks, you have a full satisfying thwack on the way out. You have kind of a high-pitched ka-chunk, the bounce, which I'm a big fan of. It doesn't bounce every time, but I think I might be doing that subconsciously on purpose, because I throw it down, it doesn't stick, and then I kind of give it just a little touch with my fingers. But you could just fling it down, right? But overall, yeah, I would say acoustics on this thing are money. I mean, absolutely fantastic. Let's go ahead and get some measurements here. Let's see, we'll do the weight first. I would probably guess this in at, I would say probably about 5 ounces. Whew. Okay. I'm not mad at that. 4.9. Okay. Very cool. And let's go ahead and get our measurement. All right, so it looks like we are sitting at 8.1, just literally a hair. You might even be able to get away with calling it 8. Yeah, I'm gonna say we have 8 inches overall, and then it looks like for the blade, we are rocking a 3, just under, oh well no, we got that big old nub there. So we're sitting at like what, 3.3 roughly? Yeah, 3.3 inches. Size comparisons, we'll go ahead and pull out the Civivi Praxis, large Praxis. And we'll go ahead and do the Kubi Vera Hero. So it's sitting about the same size. It's a little bit bigger than the Kubi, and it's dwarfed a little bit by the Praxis. And we'll go ahead and grab the Civivi Brazen with the milled aluminum scales. This is the Palmetto State Armory exclusive. I would, other than the FG, I don't think Civivi's built a better knife. And we're gonna go ahead and grab we'll go ahead and do the Real Steel Sylph. So that kind of gives you an idea. You know, I mean, at 8 inches, you know, it's a full-size knife, no doubt, but, you know, not at a full-size knife weight. Now, oh, sorry for the shake. That brings, you know, kind of something else into question, though. The elephant in the room is the blade-to-handle ratio on paper with 3.3 inches of blade and about 8 inches overall. That puts this at a 70% blade-to-handle ratio, right? 80% is whenever you start to see like kind of a 50-50 divide between the blade and the handle. You kind of get that Shirogorov look. So at 75, it's passable. But then anything below 75, like where we're at right now, and it's like, oh wow, that is a huge handle and a very tiny blade. Especially when you consider the blade doesn't even start until up here, right? It's one of my biggest pet peeves, the further we get away from an 80% blade to handle ratio. However, they've done two things in particular that really help this out. One, this is one continuous line, right? Which gives it a unified look. There's less things up here breaking the aesthetic apart. But the other thing is instead of looking at it from here up and here down, I'm naturally more focused on the pivot because it's got that pop of blue. So whenever I look at the pivot and I see this unbroken pattern up top, this nice arch, it kind of makes me forget about the blade to handle ratio, and it looks a lot more centered to me, which I think is awesome. So even though the blade to handle ratio is terrible, with the way they've designed this knife, I give it a bit of a pass. So that's about all for this overview. I know it went a little bit longer than normal, but I had a lot of feelings about this knife, so I was happy to go over them. Drop down in the comments and let me know, what are your thoughts, just first impressions. Is this something that would make it into your collection, or would it make it into your EDC rotation? Do me a favor, please hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel if you like what you saw. And then, if you have no opinion on the knife, then, leave me some feedback down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram at Sever7, SEVRSEVN, and I will have a link to this knife down below in the description. I have 0 affiliate links, so it has no impact on the channel whether you use that link or your favorite YouTubers. I would say until I get affiliate links, probably grab your favorite YouTubers. That way, you can, put a buck in their pocket or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, nothing but love, guys. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate the support. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. And until next time, stay sharp.